G'day. I want to do a bit of a talk today about Dean's plugs. If you're into electrical stuff at all, then for years I had just whatever connecting things together, and probably the last 18 months or so I found that just standardising on one sort of plug has been a really useful way to organise things, and now I pretty much use the same plug for everything, and the one that I've picked is called a Dean's plug, which is like this. And quite a solid, beefy connection system, and you can hook them together and make connections to really whatever you want to connect up. It all came from these things, which is what's called a speed controller, and you have batteries that plug into units like this with that sort of plug. You can get different types. I'm not saying Dean's plugs are the one that you need to have, but it can be very handy to have a certain kind of plug that you like that lets you just standardise and use the same plug throughout. First of all, here's the supply. I think the last time I bought these, I bought 30 of them, so 30 males and 30 females, and prior to that I probably bought 20, and I've used them all up since and had to restock another 30. The cost of them, they're quite expensive locally, but if you buy them from somewhere like Hobby City or Hobby King, you get a pack of 10 for about $5 or something like that. I think it ends up being approximately 50 cents each, so the connection like that is about $1. So really, if you're talking about 30 sets of plugs, you're talking about $30. It's not a lot of money compared to really whatever else is being used. And the advantage of them is they're fairly high current rated, so you can use them for small things through to fairly large things, and you can just have the same plug throughout. I've got this lamp here which I bought that's normally a 240 volt lamp, but I just pulled the transformer straight out of it, and it's got a 12 volt plug. Oops, it's actually that one. So that lamp is running on 12 volts. I've got a battery system over here, and here's 12 volts coming out of the battery system. One thing I've got here is, for example, is an LED light, an MR16 light, plugged into the supply, and then we have our light source. Here's another one. Running. And of course you want to connect to other systems, so various things like this. It's a little connection system to a Dean's plug, so you can plug in whatever you like to that. My power supply has these plugs, which are the BNC type plugs, and on the other end of that you just have again a Dean's plug, so that you can plug in whatever you like to the power supply. It can be useful to connect to other things as well. Examples of that are the alligator clips, and there's another set of alligator clips here. So really, by using this plug throughout, whatever you want to plug in, you can have alligator clips at each end, and off you go. Even other types of adapters. Here, for example, is a cigarette socket, and you can plug that in to a 12 volt supply, and you get a standard cigarette outlet from it. And the opposite of that is something like this, where you can plug into say in a car or somewhere, you can plug in a 12 volt cigarette plug adapter, and coming out of that is again a Dean's plug, so you've got those all over the place to plug in whatever you'd like. And it goes on and on. Here's a 50 watt halogen globe, and it's quite a good load. You can use it for testing various things. I'll put that over there, and if we plug that in, then you've got 50 watts of halogen power there. That's going to dim the camera quite a lot, but that's all plugged in that way. And of course, occasionally you need to have a longer cable, so the obvious answer there is just an extension lead. This one here is essentially an extension lead. It goes around the back there to another plug, and if you need a longer run, then you've got two ends of this fairly long cable. And I have a few others as well that you can use to make extension leads for testing various things. I even have a system like this, which is essentially an extension lead, but one of the wires is cut, and then you can use a multimeter like this. Attach the two alligator clips to the wires there, and you can use the multimeter to measure current through a system. What else? I think from that you probably get the idea, but it's a very handy way to connect various things together. And I've found that after a short while you get fairly good at soldering these units together. It's quite straightforward. It takes literally, you need a new plug or a new system or a new attachment. It takes a couple of minutes only to attach the Dean's plugs to them. This one here is interesting. Oh, by the way, I should mention the conventions. Apparently, and this is what I've done, the flatter of the two, the top one, the one that sits flat across the plug, should always be the positive, and that's what I've maintained throughout all of these. You can see on this one, for example, or this one, the negative line, which has the white on it, is on the bottom one that sits upright. The one going across the top is the positive, and that's just by convention all the way through. Occasionally you need to plug in a source to another source. For example, you could call a 12 volt supply a source, and in that case you'd have a female plug on it. For safety reasons, you don't want to have the sources of power with a male connector. You could short them out quite easily. So that, for example, from the battery has a female connector, but you may have a source from, say, a charger, in which case you'll end up with two females, and the answer to connecting those together is to use the male to male plug, and I've got a couple of those